I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but my inside sources tell me that within the next couple of weeks, James Gunn has a new movie coming to the theaters. I know, right? Like, he's been very quiet about this. There hasn't really been a lot of talk about with the next thing that James Gunn is doing. He's kept himself with a relatively low profile in these past couple of years since exiting Marvel after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 from a couple of years back. You know, he's just rested on his laurels of being the most successful mainline Marvel production now that he's no longer with the studio. He's just, he just kind of played it safe. Really, how much longer can I keep this going? But no. Superman's James Gunn, as it's affectionately been dubbed by so many apt observers, will be hitting theaters July 11th, which, the more that I think about it, man, because, okay, the first of the three big July releases, okay, Superman's going to be the second one, but you got Jurassic World Rebirth, which is, I think, okay, outside of Avatar, is going to be the highest performing film of the year. Like, you've got Lilo and Stitch still, and definitely knocking on the door. It's right there on the doorstep of $1 billion. Give it a couple more weeks. It's probably going to take a little while to get there. I think it just crossed over this past weekend, or maybe if you factor in Monday, okay, it'll cross that $850 million mark. So I'm dying a little bit on the inside. It's going to get past Minecraft, which just petered out, thankfully, before $1 billion, but it made over $900 million, and it's probably already gotten greenlit for a sequel, which is going to go on to make half as much money, but still be a big enough success that Warner Brothers is going to destroy every other video game adaptation it can possibly think of. But I digress on that front, because in so much as that was a movie that they had hopes for, I don't think they factored in how popular and how necessary that success would be, because the one movie that they definitely have thrown their hat in the ring on, and the one that they're putting all of their marketing money behind, is James Gunn's Superman. And last week, there was a big Entertainment Weekly spread where they at least, paid lip service to the rest of the cast. It's like, yeah, we'll bring Corenswet on, okay, yeah, we'll have Brosnahan, okay, we'll have, both Clark and Lois make out in a phone booth, and then they'll have their peevy old uncle, just look over and just drop down his newspaper looking like a ghoul in the adjoining booth. I'm wondering if instead of putting the quarter into the phone, he was putting it into the booth itself so that the divider would go ahead and drop down. Like, that was just such a stupid photo shoot. But this time around, okay, for this big spread in Rolling Stone, where he really does, he spills the tea on a lot of the stuff revolving around the DCU, the DCEU superhero movies in general, because, yeah, he does have, as much as you can meme on him for being a narcissist in regards to marketing Superman, like, he has a lot of experience in the biz, with his connections to Marvel, running back to, what was that, Phase 2 when Guardians first came out, tracking all the way through till today, being kicked out of Marvel, and then brought back after, of course, he made the Suicide Squad in 2021 for DC. I think that's the way that it worked. And then, yeah, bouncing back to Marvel, and then fully taking the DCU top job. So, yeah, he does have some insight. I just find this very interesting how, yeah, Rolling Stone wants to do an article about the Superman director, James Gunn, and not have any pictures or not even involve Superman himself. It's just, this has been the weirdest marketing tactic I've seen for a movie in a very long time, especially one this significant and important. But Superman director James Gunn, you don't want everyone to root for you. Oh, great, you're taking the Rian Johnson approach to this. I want half of the people to hate my product and half of the people to love it. It's like, okay, cool. I remember there was a point in time when movies, when you had directors, you had creatives, you had people on both sides of the camera just wanting to entertain the masses instead of, if everybody's not going to like it, that's fine. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Normally you just try to do the best that you could for everyone involved. But that's me with my idealism peeking out from behind the curtain. But like I said, this is a fairly lengthy tome that just dropped here Monday morning. We're not going to be going through all of it because this video might be closer to an hour. So I just want to pick some of the highlights because there were some good questions that were asked. I know this is weird that I'm actually praising Rolling Stone for doing some of their quote-unquote journalism. It's more or less just a big glazing piece on James Gunn anyways. But no. He talks about a bunch of different stuff, okay? Not just DCU related, but instead the wider universe at large, okay? So let's let's take a look. It's not hard to find James Gunn's office in the Warner Brothers lot. Yes, a huge glowing Superman symbol beckons an entrance hall visible through the glass door from yards away. Gunn, 58, is in his third year as a co-CEO of the company's newly created DC Studios, sharing the title and office with Peter Safran, who handles the business side of operations. Gunn is a refugee from that universe, talking about Marvel. After writing and directing his final MCU movie, 2023 Guardians of the Galaxy Superman, due July 11th, is the first feature film set in the new DCU, and arguably one of the highest stakes movies ever made. I would agree with that for a multitude of reasons, because, okay, you're trying to launch a universe that you've already announced several, like dozens of projects on, and you're already canceling some of them. I don't know if this is in this specific article. I did a little bit of a gloss over the top of it, but there's been a lot of news coming out of this article. But yeah, apparently they've canned already. Like James talks about, canning one of the projects that, yeah, they were really hyped on. It's just the script was ass. So I kind of think it was that Clayface movie. That's what I'm kind of thinking, because we also heard, because the only reason that it got greenlit is because Mike Flanagan came over and was like, yeah, I want to work on this Clayface gimmick. It's like, here's my pitch, here's my script. And they were all, big excited on it. Okay, they were, oh my God, like this is so brilliant. And then we heard a little while ago, I think like a month or two ago, we started to hear something about, oh yeah, James and his crew is, having to strip down the script because it's actually ass, and, just repurposing it. And now we hear that story that, yeah, something's actually been cut. My money would be on that, because we know that now Supergirl, no longer Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So funny, doing the exact same tactic that you had with Superman, because it started out as Superman Legacy and then just simply got redone as Superman. But don't worry, guys, James has a plan. It's just a very fluid plan. So yeah, Clayface, I would imagine, has been cut, because it's definitely not Batman 2, but we'll get into that, of course. So Supergirl, which is out next year, is wrapping principal photography. How much were you on set? 0. Very little. Okay. I mean, from the very beginning, it was, I've been pretty busy, as you might imagine. I was really involved in the script stage, but then director Craig Gillespie, has just such a great partner. He's been doing his thing. You never know how something cuts together, but right now it looks amazing. It's really cool stuff, which is, I think that's probably the best way to market this, because if Superman doesn't end up coming out very good, especially with the new trailer, I kind of missed the boat on reacting to that, because holy shit, I think the best way that you can summarize that is you can very much tell that the cinematographer that worked on 2023's Flash movie, you very much work on Superman, because holy shit, you better hope some of that CG is just simply unfinished and it doesn't look like that in the final cut, and teeth bouncing off of the camera lens in a fourth wall break. Not really something I would associate with Superman. Kind of silly. So I want this movie to be good. I just don't think it will be, because James Gunn cannot get out of James Gunn's way. So yes, as saying that, I'm not really that attached to Supergirl, even though she's going to end up playing a very big part of the climax of Superman. If you were a part of some of the the rumor video that I did on this, you know that she's gonna show up at the end. Don't know if that's gonna be a post-credit scene or not, but yeah, she's very much in the movie. Okay, and I don't like what I've heard so far about her characterization. But yes, it getting retitled, so it's no longer called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, correct? Yeah, I think it's just called Supergirl. Your Superman movie was first called Superman Legacy, and now it's just Superman. Yeah, I'm always cutting. Legacy was really something called a pre-mortem, even though you announced it, and you announced that, the DCEU was going to be kicking off with Superman Legacy. But don't worry about that. He lies often. It occurred to me that the particular version of Superman needed a certain version of you and the certain version of the audience. Could 2010 James Gunn have made this film? I don't think 2020 James could. Yeah, of course. They also talked to me about Batman earlier. Okay, yeah, because we talked about this, everybody knows I was offered Superman in 2018. I beg your pardon? Because we heard something about him getting offered Superman prior to getting the Suicide Squad, which would have already stepped on the feet of Zack Snyder, because all of that nonsense was still going on. But don't worry, we're not done dealing with that. But yeah, everybody knew that, he got offered Superman in 2018. It's news to me, but okay. They would have come to me in 2018 with Batman, and I would have said yes. But yeah, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. James, really wants to work on Batman. He really wants to get it right, but he really appreciates what Matt Reeves is doing with Batman. Right? Yeah, sure. Yes, talking about the cancellation here. Okay, after you temporarily got fired from Marvel for some old tweets, you said a ton of friends reached out to you, and that for the first time in your life, you had a transformative experience of feeling truly loved. There's no doubt that without that experience, I don't think that I would have written Superman that I wrote. I wouldn't be doing this job if I didn't get fired. Yeah, the monkeys with cancel culture shit. Yeah, that's definitely going to be in the movie. Fucking Christ. I wouldn't be doing this job if I didn't get fired. Yep, and I didn't know if I'd be doing this job even if it wasn't for that. I don't think that character, that Pure, would have quite appealed to me. God, it's so great that we can only write characters based on what is important to you. I'm so glad that we have done away with literary greats like Tolkien, who created an entire universe. Like, he was never an elf, a dwarf, or a hobbit, or a Maiar, or a Valar, but he could go ahead and properly construct that entire universe. No, everything just has to be about your own personal experience. Makes me sick. So on a story level, what cracked Superman for you, outside of your own personal experiences? Oh no, wait, we're not done with that yet, because it was Crypto, because I have a dog, and I need to put my dog in the movie. Oh, the beginning of the movie is the thing that I wrote, with Crypto coming to Superman in the snow, and Crypto taking him home, and then having the witty banter with the robots in the Fortress of Solitude that I just cannot get past. So yeah, I really wanted to go to the theater to watch this, but the more I see it, it's just, he continues to talk me out of it. But yeah, no, it's so great. It's so great bringing all these elements into a Superman movie in the way that hasn't happened. Not to mention that he exists in a world where superheroes, some form of metahumans, have existed for 300 years. It's just a different thing. Wait, okay, cool. So we already know that Superman, I think it's from this article, or maybe it's from something else that I read. Like, he's in year 3. Okay, so this is year 3, already established Superman, but he's still, like, he's not, grizzled old man. Like, we're nowhere close to Kingdom Come, even though, we kind of think that he's eventually going to want to tell that story if he gets enough leeway to do it, okay? But we can run back 300 years? Okay, so here's another important question. There are people who've been saying the whole future of the studio might be riding on this movie. Yeah, people that can just go ahead and go, okay, Warner Brothers is, what is that, $40 billion in debt. Yeah, this is the second full-on reboot. You could kind of say that this could be categorized as the third reboot for Warner and for DC, because you had Snyder's vision, blurry vision, and then you kind of had that intermediary period where they're just seeing if anything could stick. You could kind of quasi-define that as being Dwayne Johnson's attempt to co-op DC, but because Black Adam flopped, even though it was one of the most profitable DC films to come out during that little intermediary span, and now you've got the proper reboot here. So yeah, there's a lot of money, there's already a lot of announcements, there's already a lot of money thrown out there in projects that come into the near future. So yeah, a lot of things are riding on this. Okay, how do you work in the face of that kind of pressure? Really, I just go, that's their business. That's not the truth for me. My truth, this is the first movie out of DC Studios, but not the first project. It was the very well received Creature Commandos. Remember how everybody remembers that? Actually, the only thing that they remember is a silhouette of a Batman that they can't quite define, and that James Gunn animated himself into the credits. Kill me. Other people may say it's got to be a home run, nothing else. I'm like, no, I'd be very happy with a double. Fucking Iron Man wasn't the be-all, end-all. Well, Marvel didn't come out the gates swinging going, yeah, we're going to be setting up the MCU, and here's the first installment. Okay, they didn't say up next was going to be the Incredible Hulk, and then we're going to be following that up with Thor, Captain America, and then we're going to be doing a big Avengers team-up movie. Okay, and that there's going to be all of these spin-off TV shows. There's going to be an animated section. No. They just came out and did this one radical thing. They made a good movie. Made a very good movie, in fact. Iron Man is still, arguably, in most people's estimation, if not the best, the second best film in the MCU. But no. I think he's already, he's definitely hedging his bets. Even with the projections that are out there that this thing is going to be quite big on its opening weekend, he already knows that, yeah, maybe if people don't like it, it's all right if everybody doesn't like it. No, it doesn't have to be a home run. I could just, simply put it to the wall. It'll be fine. It wasn't Avatar, right? Oh, right. Iron Man wasn't Avatar, right? Okay. I wasn't doing something, the piece of the puzzle. It's not the puzzle itself. We have Peacemaker. Yeah, because the first season really did gangbusters, and people are really looking forward to that second season, right? I hate it when there's a fucking article and it's going to be about all the problems and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, especially when there's articles calling you out and backing up their claims that you're a liar in regards to the budget of this. But yeah, no, you'll just continue to lie your ass off to cover your own ass. But yeah, here's some Marvel insight, which isn't exactly breaking any new ground, but the fact that they're finally putting pen to paper on this might lend it some credibility. Over at Marvel, they've been pretty open about the fact that they realized what's gone wrong over the past few years. They put out too much stuff, and a longtime Marvel executive producer, Louis D'Esposito, said that privately to me. I don't even know if it's really their fault. Yeah, but let's just take a look at what's the upcoming slate for DC, right? Okay, what does the DCU look like? How many shows? How many animated features? How many movies do we have on tap, right? It's dozens of projects at this point in time. But the problem with Marvel is they put out too much content. So what's DC going to do to compare and contrast that? Put out too much content. Anyways, they're under a corporate mandate, yeah? Oh yeah, that wasn't fair. It wasn't right. It killed them. Oh right, yeah. But you're going to be able to do it different because you're James Gunn, right? So yes, the last two things that I want to touch on, okay? And the first one kind of gets split into a couple of different parts because we're going to be talking about Batman. It's like, obviously, DC, it's very much, for normies, a two-horse race. You got Superman, and you got to have Batman. Okay, we have Superman. Superman's coming in the next couple of weeks. Just what the hell is going on with Batman? Okay, like he is arguably, I would say, especially in normies' minds, like the superhero. We have seen how many iterations, and he continues to maintain a high degree of popularity. Yeah, I mean, like if you're launching a universe and you don't have access to your most popular character, that's going to be a problem, especially when you got somebody else who has them tied up on the way that James fantasizes about. But he's working on a project and he's got a different take than you do, and you kind of hate him. And in so much as you want to spill the tea about the behind the scenes going on over at Marvel, you've also heard people that have worked close with James Gunn talk about how much he openly hates Matt Reeves and his Batman universe. Yeah. We know you want Bruce Wayne, okay? We know that you hate Batman 2. We know that you want to cancel it, but by hook or by crook, and either through corporate interference or through contractual obligations, the Batman 2 is going to have to happen some way or one way or another. Once you said the fact that Robert Pattinson's Batman is not in this universe was Matt Reeves' choice, does that mean that if it were up to you, you would just have pulled that into your universe? It would be a consideration. We'd have to think about it. We'd have to think about it, but it's not like we've never discussed it. So yeah, it's interesting. Your answer is a much more present tense than I expected, as if it's an ongoing possibility. No, I don't. Batman's my biggest issue in all of DC right now, personally. And it's not. I'm not writing Batman. Bullshit. But I am working with a writer of Batman and trying to get it right. Yeah, no, I'm not writing it. I'm just working with the writer. Sure. What's the name of the writer? Gunn James. Because he's incredibly important to DC, as is Wonder Woman. So outside of that outside of that stuff, I'm doing in the projects that are actively going. Our two priorities are finishing our Wonder Woman and our Batman scripts, which, yeah, if you're doing DC, I think, like, you got to get the Trinity right. Without that, you're pretty fucked. Batman script, is it still called The Brave and the Bold? Yeah, right now. Yeah, you set that up, okay, and the implication is you're not going with the second Robin, okay, you're not going with the third Robin, you're going with, depending on how you want to categorize it, either the fourth or fifth Robin. You just want to immediately go right to the tail end of Batman. You want to have old man Bruce, you want to have established Bruce with his son. Interesting take on things in the broadest sense. What needs to be figured out to make those two properties work. Batman in this universe, okay. Batman has to be the reason for existing, right? So Batman just can't be, we're making a Batman movie because Batman's the biggest character in all of Warner Brothers, which he is, but that's because there's a need for him in the DCU, and a need that he's not exactly the same as Matt's Batman. But yet, he's not a campy Batman. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in a funny, campy Batman, really. We're dealing with that. I think I have a way in, by the way. I think I really know what it's. I'm just dealing with the writer to make sure that we can make it a reality. He doesn't want a campy Batman. He doesn't want goofy Joel Schumacher Batman, which I don't think anybody's had that on the table for a while. And given our most recent interpretation, Christian Bale's Batman, and Affleck's Batman, and even Robert Pattinson's Batman have all been very grounded, very serious Bruce Wayne. So yeah, okay. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay. So yes, the last thing on Batman, we got to go over to Batman 2 here for a second. I really should clear this up. Is there still a non-zero chance that Matt Reeves' Batman will get sucked into your universe? Long pause. Why would you put that there? That's interesting. I would never say zero, because you just never know. But that's not likely. That's not likely at all. I'll also say Batman 2 is, or Part 2 is not canceled. That's the other thing I hear all the time, that Batman Part 2 is canceled. It's not canceled. We don't have a script. Matt's slow. What? Let him take his time. Let him do what he's doing. God, people are mean. Let him do his thing. Leave Matt alone. So funny, right? Because there was another report from a couple of weeks ago. We see Colin Farrell talking to the Hollywood Reporter saying, oh yeah, we're nowhere close to doing anything with Batman Part 2. All of those rumors surrounding Matt Reeves, how he's on the project, off the project, around the project, near the project, away from the project. And then there was also something popping up that Matt Reeves is going to be producing another project in the interim. So this is a movie, Batman Part 2. It's supposed to be going into production. Don't worry about it. 2026. The film's going to be rolling and it's going to be ready for, what is it, Halloween 2027? Yeah, sure. I totally believe that this thing is going to happen. And we're definitely not going to be getting, especially if Superman hits or exceeds those opening weekend projections, we definitely will not be hearing about the casting of James Gunn's DCU Batman. No. He's definitely not holding back on that to just double down on his vision. So yeah, that's the major updates in regards to the DCU. And yeah, I'm not exactly that ecstatic about Superman, mostly just running back all of James Gunn's insecurity. Yeah, it really makes me excited for a good old-fashioned Clark Kent story. But I gotta back up James this time around, okay? Because this is something that popped up over the weekend. I don't know if this is a bot. I don't know exactly what the hell this is, but you got people, on the Snyder Cut subreddit or some shit like this, calling for a targeted harassment campaign against James Gunn, which is absolutely wild. I don't know how much interaction this specific post on Reddit has. I don't even know if this is a real individual. No, I'm not just talking about Snyder bots in general, but no. The fact that they're this deranged, okay, stand up and fight for Snyderverse on July 11th. Fight for our Snyderverse on the Imposter Superman release day. Here's what we can do to make a difference. Post spoilers everywhere. People are less likely to see or enjoy a movie if it's already been spoiled. Number 2, leave bad ratings on review sites. We know for sure gun bots will post fake positive reviews, so we must let people know the truth and balance out the bias where realistic scores. Number 3, reserve tickets online and don't complete the purchase. By selecting and reserving tickets, it gets taken out of the pool for a period of time, which means this has a chance of stopping gun bots from buying tickets. Gunn fired the first shot and killed the Snyderverse, and here's our chance to take the fight back to him. Do they honestly think, like, this is totally unhinged, okay? It's just fucking nuts shit. But do they think if James Gunn ends up faltering, if they think that, Superman ends up underperforming, that Warner's going to go, the guy that cost us even more money than James did? Yeah, we need to go ahead and hire him back. The guy that threw the Justice League production into a total tailspin. Yeah. We need to allow him to come back and secure his vision because he has such a devout fan base. Okay, it tanked our most recent attempt to reboot the DC universe. Okay, so yeah, no, it's so great because it's not like all of these Snyder Cut guys. They love Zack Snyder. They just didn't love him enough to go over to Netflix and support Army of the Dead or any of the Rebel Moon movies. No. They really love Zack Snyder. Okay. And they're such a coordinated fan base that we really need to get them on side. And you know what? Shout out to James Gunn on this one, even though he's still over on Threads. He's like one of the 2 people that are remaining on that platform. I don't know if Threads or Blue Sky is more relevant at this point in time, but yeah, lol, I think we can survive. I'm not sure these 8 people that listen to this guy, I'm going out on a limb and guess that it's a guy, are going to impact the course of events. Yeah, I got to back him up on that one because James Gunn responds to Snyder fan urging people to spoil and review bomb. I think we will survive. I think you will too because, the way that this is tracking, big old opening weekend. Now, if this film is to have legs and if this is to be the defining Superman of our generation, it better be a good movie. It better not just be a James Gunn goofy schlock because he doesn't take Superman as serious as he takes Batman or can't get out of his own way to tell an authentic Clark Kent story. I'm hoping for the best. I'm expecting the worst, and hopefully I'll be moderately entertained. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.